Hi, my name is Dr. Jennifer Segura, and I'm a psychiatrist with the North Carolina Psychiatric Association's Technology Committee. Today I'm going to be talking about developing a web presence, specifically building a professional website for you and your practice. We'll start by looking at the benefits of having a professional website, looking at the basics of a website, understanding the available options for web setup. We'll walk step by step through how to develop a web page or a blog yourself. We'll look at several commercial web building providers. And then lastly, we'll briefly list the pros and cons of hiring a professional web design company. So to start off, why should you have a web presence? Well, most patients, their families, and friends will start by seeking psychiatric help online, by searching Google and looking for other resources. By having a strong web presence, this lets potential referral sources find you. On your website, it's important to explain who you are, your practice style, and where your expertise lies. And so patients who are increasingly advocating for themselves are more likely to know about you before they schedule, and hopefully this will make it a better fit and a more productive professional relationship. The other important part of having a web presence is that it's essential to grow and sustain your practice. It's impossible to continue networking on a regular basis, to keep meeting new people as new people come into the area and that sort of thing. And so by having a web presence, people can find you online. You can also list the website on your email signature and business card so people can find out more about you. So when thinking about developing a web presence, the important things to consider are the basics. So a domain name, a host service, design elements, development of a website, and SEO or search engine optimization. And we'll talk about all of these things on the next slide. And as we're going through all of this, I want you to think about the two options of basically building your own website, and this is something that has multiple steps to it, versus hiring a professional. And hopefully by the end of this talk, you'll have a good idea about which is the best fit for you. So the basics. First, you need to select your domain name. And you're going to want to have a good idea of this before you get started with this process, because your domain name really speaks to who you are. It should be simple and straightforward so that patients and professional referrals can remember it and can find you. Once you've thought about your domain name, you're going to want to sign up with a web host. A web host is a service that maintains your website, usually for an annual fee. And I want to encourage everyone listening to pay for the upgraded service from any web host that you choose. It appears more professional, and you don't want to have ads on your site, which is typically how the free web hosting services are supported. So once you choose a web host, what that's going to do is it provides technical support, so you can call anytime with questions and they'll help you get set up. Many of them have email options if you wanted to have secure email. It has security options to protect your site. And it also has marketing services so that search engines and the like can find you. And we'll talk more about that. The other piece is selecting a design template. So once you have your domain name, you've signed up with a host, you have to design your template and figure out what your site's going to look like. Many of the design elements will have different colors, menu bars, ways of navigating or tabbing through the pages. They can have forms. Some of them have scheduling options, and some of them have e-commerce options so that patients can pay for services online, or if you wanted to offer certain products, you could also do that via your website. So once you've chosen your template, then it's time to actually create your website, and this is the development piece. And that's choosing your web title, which might be your name or the name of your practice. You can have images, you can have videos, blogs, links, scheduling forms, maps, other types of contact information. And so once you've built your website, then you want to promote your website. And that's where the search engine optimization, or SEO, comes into play. And that is basically how Google, Yahoo, and Bing are going to find you. And that is via a sitemap. And so a sitemap basically is just a list of all of the pages that are associated with your domain name. And it will have keywords so that when patients search for certain things like psychiatrist or therapist or depression or mental illness, they'll get connected to you. so that your website will come up on a Google search or Yahoo or Bing. Other things that are important to consider when thinking about your SEO or your search engine optimization rankings are links from other websites. So say you have links from the North Carolina Psychiatric Association or other websites, that will increase your rankings. There's also the option of investing in things like Google Ads so that you have an ad that comes up when someone searches for that. Or Psychology Today is another option which promotes doctors and therapists. Another thing to consider when thinking about SEO rankings is the type of host that you are signed up with. And so it's important to be signed up with a hosting service that's fairly reputable. Otherwise, you can be located on a server, which is somewhat technical in thinking about this, but if you're on a server with other websites, it can be considered a bad neighborhood if they have less reputable websites associated with them, and it can decrease your SEO rankings. And so basically the take home from that is that you want to be with a web hosting service that is reputable, and that will help you with your search engine optimization and web marketing. So what are your options for building a website? You can use an online service and create the pages yourself. You can find a web service that also hosts. You can use a third-party tool to design your website template. You could work with a company that will host your pages for you, or you can hire someone to design and code your site as well as host it. So all of these options you can cobble together to create a website. It's really what works the best for you and how much control you want to have versus how much you want to relinquish to someone else. So now we're going to talk more about the traditional static website. And basically that is a collection of related web pages that are under the same domain name. So this is a typical website that you're probably familiar with. It has text information, it'll have media content, music, maps, videos, scheduling options. And you can also have e-commerce options, and that would allow patients to go into a portal or to a page where they can securely pay balances. They can even purchase treatment-related books or products from your site, though you certainly want to be very cautious about what you sell or promote on your website because that reflects on you and your professionalism. The other option is a blog. Now, a blog is different than a traditional website in that it is more dynamic. So there's new content, which people typically will post articles. They might comment on some research or new medications that are coming out, and that content tends to be at the top of the page. And then as you scroll down, you'll see older posts, and then typically in a sidebar there'll be archived content, and that's typically archived by month and year. And so you could click on that and you could see whatever posts a person had posted in, say, October of 2014. And so that's a different type of a website, but it's something that if you wanted to build a site quickly, it's pretty easy to set up a blogging service. It tends to be pretty easy and fast, and you can actually design it to look like a traditional static website by deleting the comments or the posting options. Blogger and WordPress are two of the industry leaders, and we'll touch on that a little bit more, so you may have heard of those things. So this is where we're going to really look into the nuts and bolts of building a website. This is an example of a traditional website, and this is my website. The reason that I use this is because I can actually take you behind the scenes and show you how to build something that you would see online. And so basically, to kind of break it down into the pieces and parts, so you'll see that, so here's my name, so this would be your title, and this would be on all of your pages. This is your subtitle, which would tell people basically who you are and a number to contact you. And so that's helpful information right there for anyone who's trying to find a psychiatrist or therapist. And then there's typically tabs. So you have your home page, an about me to explain who you are, give some bio, explain your professional services. It can have information for new patients, your office locations. These are different tabs. And this drop-down box has nested pages. So there's multiple pages that a new patient might want to look at. And so these are all separate pages that you would create. And then you can also have a sidebar, which has, this is, contact information or whatever information you'd like to have on a sidebar. And that can either be on the right side, it could be over on the left side, and that's where your design template comes into play. And this would be the main body of your web page where you have text and other information. So to get further into the example, so we'll look at the hosting site, the domain, the design, and the development. So Just Host is an example of a hosting service, and as you'll see, they have tech support, which is available, and live chat, which is pretty standard with most of the hosting services. It'll offer you a domain name, and you can choose one, and then some of them give you the option of having multiple domains if you did want to have multiple websites. They typically have website builders, and this is mentioned here. They also offer email and marketing and statistics so that you can track who is visiting your website. So the way it would work is you would sign up with a web host. So basically you create an account name, a domain name, and that way you can go in and you can access it anytime if you wanted to update your site, if there were changes that you wanted to make. It's very easy and customizable to get into the web hosting service. So once you logged in, you would come to this page, which would be your control panel, is what it's called. And typically it's just where you can click on whatever you need to do. So as you can see, there's mail options, but most importantly for this talk is there's website builders. And so this is the next piece. Once you've signed up with the hosting service, you need to build your site. And there's many options. So there's WordPress and Weebly, which are the two that I would recommend considering. The other options that you can find on the control panel are the security options, and you can click on any of these options and they'll walk you through them. And then on the side here you can see that there are statistics for your website, and we'll get into that in a minute. So that's here. So Awstats and Webalizer are two of them. You can look at latest visitors, you can see how much bandwidth is used. So these are different statistics that you can use to track visitors that come, which keywords people are searching for, how people are getting to you, so which search engines are referring to you or which websites are referring visitors to your site. There's also the web marketing options. And you can see that there's Google ads, there's Bing ads, you can use Twitter, you can use Facebook, there's Yellow Pages, and other options in order to draw traffic to your site, in order to build up your practice and let patients find you. So once you've chosen your website builder, so for me I chose Weebly, and they all work pretty much the same, so this is the one that we'll step through. And basically you just choose the domain name that you've picked and click login. You'll notice down here that you can do domain upgrades. And for Weebly, their upgrades are called Pro and e-commerce, and all of them have slightly different names, but basically the same options. And this is where you pay an extra fee per month or per year, and this gives you the ad-free option. It's more professional, and it gives you a lot more flexibility and customization as far as designing your site. So once you've logged into a web building site, you get to choose your template. And you'll notice that up here it says Weebly Pro, so you'll see that I'm using the Pro version, and I have the option to upgrade to the e-commerce domain upgrade. And you'll see here you can go back to the control panel if you wanted to change that or try something different. But essentially now that you've chosen your web builder, you're going to want to go under the design tab, and you have a lot of design options. So there's custom themes, and you can sort them and look at different ones. You can sort them by color, you can sort them by different type, dark colors, business, corporate, general. There's a lot of different options. And so you'll see for my website, this is the theme that I chose. It tends to be pretty clean, and it has room for pictures and text. Other options are brighter and a bit bolder, which are also nice. So it just depends on what your style is and how you want to present yourself to potential patients and and professional referrals. So once you've chosen your theme, then you can do further customization. So you can change colors. So you'll see here that when you click on a tab, it's highlighted light blue, and that's where that's chosen, is that checkbox. So you can make it orange or pink or green or brown. You can change your theme, you can change your fonts, you can add social icons, and that would be things like Facebook or Twitter if you wanted to link to those things. You can also add your phone number, and the phone number option is what you see here, where it has a place for a phone number to be listed on the header of your website pages. So once you've chosen your template, then it's time to edit. And that's where you go into the Build tab, and you can see here that there are a number of different design tools to use, and it's really quite simple. What you'll do is you just click on one and then drag it into the body of the page. And you'll see that there's a number of different options. So titles, text, text and image, images, gallery, you can add a map, and other things like that. So when you want to actually add a page, you'll go under the Pages tab, click on Add a Page, and you'll see here that the way this is laid out, so this is basically the site map, which I mentioned earlier, for my website. And so you'll see that this is the home, and it has a home icon here. So that's essentially where everything comes back to. And then these are single pages, and then you'll see here that some of the pages are indented, and that means that those are nested pages underneath the New Patients tab. And you'll also see that you have the option of this eye with an X on it. You can have hidden pages that people can't access except for the administrator or whoever it is that is designing the website. And so to actually add a page, you click on the Add Page key, and then you're going to choose the type of page you want to add. And we're going to create a standard page. So once you've chosen that, then you get to choose a page name and your page layout. And there's different options for your layout. Some have a large picture, some have a smaller picture, no picture, or a picture and text at the top. You choose which style you prefer and then click on Save and Edit. And then you have your sample page, and you'll see here that the sample page was added to the other pages that I have on my site, and it just adds it to the tabs. And we had chosen the one with the small header, so you'll see the small picture here. And then you get to choose your design elements, and so you would just drag what you want down to the page. So we've dragged the title, so you have a title here, and then you have image and text, and so it has an image to the side and text here. When you click on the image, it opens up this box, which helps you to know where you can find a picture. Basically, you can upload it from your computer, you can drag one in from another part of the screen, you can search, you can have favorites that are saved, or you can even link to a specific web link if you have a picture that you like specifically online. You do want to be conscious about licensing and look for something that has either it's in the public domain or that you have permission to use. So that would be one thing to consider. And the North Carolina Psychiatric Association does have a database of images which could possibly be available by contacting them. So to actually add an image, if you wanted to use the search function, you would type in something like brain, and many pictures would come up. Some of them would be completely irrelevant, but you might find one that seemed like it might be a good fit. And when you find that, then just click on the image, and it will appear in the image box, and you can size it to be larger, smaller, and then add in any text and add in your title. Other options to customize your design. So you can do different formatting options. You can add columns, you can add dividers, you could add buttons if you want people to click on things and link to other pages. You can add documents, videos, audio. You can upload files so that patients could download forms to bring into your office. You can add e-commerce so that patients can pay their balances online. You can also embed additional code. So if you wanted to have something a bit more professional or fancy, then you could add your own professional computer programmed code into your site. And that might be something that maybe you're skilled at, or maybe you'd pay somebody else to do if you wanted to add more advanced design options. Other things you can do are add scheduling. You can add surveys. This is an example of what online scheduling would be like if you wanted to add that to your site. So basically you would just click on the booking site and then it would just walk you through. If you wanted to add forms or links, so for my site, or if you wanted to have a site that had forms for patients to look over your policies, if you wanted to have new patients print out packets, you could actually link them on here. And basically you would just click on document and then it would allow you to upload it, and then it would help the patient to click on it by having a link that took them directly there so that they could upload it. And you could have rating scales there and other options for patients to use. And this also saves time for you and your office staff by being able to direct them here rather than having to mail out forms or wait while patients fill them out in your office. So if you wanted to add a blog to have a more dynamic piece to your website, you would go back to the Pages tab, click Add Page, and then you would add a blog page. And again, you would do the same with labeling a title for your blog page and picking out your layout. And then you click Save and Edit. And this is what would come up. So you would have, again, a new tab, which was your sample blog page. The page layout for this one is the landing page, which has a place for a picture, a headline, some text. And then you can start a new post by just clicking on the New Post button. If you wanted to further customize your blog, you could click on Blog Settings and it would give you additional options for how you would like to format your site. This is a sidebar which has information about the author if you wanted to have that, or you could delete it. You have a lot of options with customizing your site. So this is what it would look like if you were going to create a sample blog page, or a blog post rather. So you would choose a title, it would have the date, and then you would just put in whatever text you wanted to post, or links or pictures, and then you would just click Save. If you were not ready to post it yet, then you could click Save to Drafts. You could delete the draft. You can have sharing to Facebook or to Twitter. So the bird is Twitter, the F is for Facebook. And that would additionally share your posts. And so this is what it would look like once you had posted something, with the title, the image, the post, anything you'd like to have. So once you have all of your pages completed and looking the way you want, make sure that you look at your site in both the regular and the mobile view to make sure that everything looks good. I'm sure you've all had the experience of looking at your smartphone on a website that just does not format properly, or looks really weird, or is hard to navigate. And so be sure that your site doesn't do that. So make sure that you check both before you decide to finalize your site. When you are ready, go ahead and hit Publish. And this is in the top right hand corner of every page, which you may have noticed as we were scrolling through previously. And know that until you click that button, your website is private. No one can see it, no one can find it by typing in the URL into the search bar at the top of the page, or by Googling it. So once it is published, though, it is public, and you'll be able to see it, and so will anyone else who searches for you or for your domain name. And so once your site is up and running, you're going to want to monitor the site statistics. And basically what that means is tracking who has visited your site, how long they've stayed on each page, whether it's search engines, whether it's another website, whether it's certain keywords that are being typed in. So that's really helpful information as far as being able to tailor your site to your audience, and knowing how to help people find you. And so once you've done that, you can look at your traffic by month, you can look at it by day, you can look at it by hour, you can track it by week. So there's a lot of different ways to break down the information. And also a year-to-date sort of traffic to see whether there are ebbs and flows with seasons, as we all know. some times of year tend to be a lot busier than others. So it's all helpful to be able to break this down and look at it in different ways. And so when you're thinking about doing this for yourself, how do you choose a web building platform? So according to PC Magazine Online, they did a pretty thorough evaluation of different web building platforms, and Jimdo, Weebly, Wix, and Squarespace were the ones that they reported to be the best. As far as services offered, the cost for the services, the storage limits, the customization, the technical support, and other resources that they offered. So these are the ones that were most highly rated. Psychiatrist sites, while not mentioned on the PC Magazine website's article, is something that could be useful for some of you listening to this presentation, because it does have templates and language that's already written for psychiatrists. So this would be a quick and easy way to get your name out there and build a web presence. You would want to be careful that it didn't appear too, what's the word? So basically that it was too standard. You would want it to be somewhat customized to you personally. Otherwise, it could take away from some of the professionalism, but I believe their goal is to have it be somewhat customizable for your specific practice and may facilitate the process. And there are discounts for NCPA members available for the psychiatrist site, so we don't specifically endorse it. The other option would be a blog platform. This would be Blogger or WordPress, which I mentioned earlier. Blogger is associated with Google, so if you already have a Google account, it would be very easy to set this up. Both are pretty easy to use, have good support, have free hosting. However, if you did the free hosting, it would have the blogspot.com or wordpress.com attached to your domain name, which again, I don't recommend as it detracts from the professionalism of the site. But both are fairly easy to use, and you can format it to look like a standard traditional static website if that was your desire. So basically you have the information on how to build your own website. And lastly, we'll just look briefly at if that seems like too much for you or something you don't want to take on, you can always hire a professional to build your site. And so some of the pros to hiring a professional would be that it does take less time and it does take less maintenance. And it is much more customizable, so you could have a very unique, stylish website if you hired someone else to do it. The downside is that it is more expensive, upwards of $5,000 to hire a professional, in addition to the annual hosting fees. And it does lack the flexibility to make changes, so you would have to contact your professional agency, let them know of any changes you wanted to make, see what changes they make, and then review those before it would be live and published. So there are a few extra steps if you did want to make changes to it. So those are basically the pros and cons of building a website on your own versus hiring a professional. And hopefully this has answered some of your questions about what it takes to do this. Here are the references as far as where I got some of the information that was included here. And PC Magazine, as you can see, had some very useful reviews of the resources that are out there. And this is also a list of just the different web building platforms that are available if you wanted to go and look them up to get more information. I hope this has been helpful to you. Thank you very much. Take care.